My name is Rocky Henriques. I'm the pastor at Utica Baptist Church in Utica, Mississippi. Today I want us to think about how the words that we say and how we say them might affect someone else's life. An unknown poet wrote this: "It was only a glad good morning as she passed along the way, but it spread the morning's glory over the living day." You know, that little poem reminds us that sometimes how we act or the things we say can have a tremendous impact on the lives of others, even if it's just a passing moment, maybe someone we don't even know. We can reflect Christ. And I think in these days that we find ourselves in, it's even more important than ever for us to be intentional about how we demonstrate the life of Christ to other people. I mean, how are they going to know that Christ loves them if we don't love them? A few years ago, I stopped on the way home and I was going to buy gasoline at one of those little corner convenience stores. It was during the time when gasoline was kind of high, and this place had the lowest prices for miles around, and so understandably they were pretty busy. But now it was around 6 o'clock. Other people were getting off work and they were all headed home. And it was kind of hot. And there was a long line and people were impatient and the pumps weren't working correctly. I mean, you could pump gas, but then you had to go inside to pay. And that was causing a lot of people to just kind of forget themselves. And I'm standing there in line, there at the counter, and there other people are getting real impatient. Apparently the clerk was new, or the equipment was new, or something. Something wasn't working right, and she was having a real difficult time in getting each person checked out. And people were just getting, they were getting really impatient. You could feel the tension in the air was rising, and it was kind of hot inside there too, by the way. Well, my turn came. I stepped up to the counter. All the other customers standing around, the ones behind me, they're all impatient. And I said, "Ma'am," in such a way to get her attention. She wasn't looking at me. She was so flustered and under such pressure. She wasn't looking at anybody. She's just trying to keep her head down and get the work done. And I said, "Ma'am," and I got her attention. I made eye contact with her. And then in a voice loud enough for other people to hear, I said, "It's okay. You're doing fine." Well, listen, that's all I said to her. But her demeanor changed immediately. Her shoulders slumped in relief. She took a deep breath. We could feel the tension leaving the room. Saying that out loud seemed to make all the difference in how she approached her job, and it seemed to help the other customers realize that she was just doing the very best she could do. Our being impatient wasn't going to help things go any faster. It wasn't her fault that the equipment wasn't working properly. Well, she was able to complete my transaction and she moved on to the next person. This time she had a little more confidence. This time she had a little more authority in what she was doing, and she was able, I stepped aside and just watched long enough to realize she was going to be fine. She took care of what I needed and she took care of the next person without any problem whatsoever, and she was able to move people out. All it took, here's my point. I'm not saying I'm any better, but that particular day, I was patient. I'm so glad I was. But all it took was one person saying the right words at just the right time to make all the difference, to just transform that situation. But it doesn't have to be a situation like the one I've just described. It could be a lonely old man who just needs human contact. Maybe just a smile. Somebody you pass. Now, in these days, when I'm recording this, we're all supposed to be wearing masks when we go out in public, and it's a little bit difficult to for other people to see our smiles. Let's make sure we smile with our eyes too. I was in the grocery store, and there was a couple of black ladies in front of me. We were at the dairy case, and there's a little girl there with them. I don't know. She might have been 4, 5 years old at the most. And I looked at her, and she was watching me, and I winked at her, and she waved. And I spoke to her, and I said, young lady, you can't see it, but I'm smiling at you right now. I've heard other people say the same thing. I'm smiling right now. You just can't see it. Let's make sure that we smile at people. Let's make sure we're kind to people. Let's make sure that even when the situation is less than ideal, that we are the ones, if we know Christ, let's make sure that we are the ones who set the tone, that we're the ones who make the difference in the situation, that perhaps we can diffuse the situation. As we move through our days, let's determine that we are going to be ambassadors for Christ, the one who died for us, the one who lives for us today, the one who lives inside of us to this very day, the one who is soon coming back to take us home. Let's make sure that when he does, that we take as many people as we can with us. And it may make all the difference in the world as to how we treat them while we're here. In these days, let's make absolutely certain that we are reflecting the love of Christ, that we are reflective ambassadors for Jesus. 1 Peter 3:15 and 16. Honor the Messiah as the Lord in your hearts. Always be ready to give a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. However, do this with gentleness and respect. Be encouraged today.